USSR. When did it happen? It officially ended December 26, 1991, but the collapse happened throughout the late 1980s, early 1990s. Main countries involved: Russia, Ukraine, Belarus, Estonia, Latvia, Lithuania, Armenia, Azerbaijan, Georgia were all involved in the Soviet Union. NATO played a part in its downfall. People involved, such as country leaders like Vladimir Lenin, Joseph Stalin, Nikita Khrushchev, Leonid Brezhnev, Yuri Andropov, Konstantin Chernenko, and Mikhail Gorbachev. Historical details: the USSR was undergoing economic stagnation. Political reforms like perestroika caused controversy, as well as nationalist movements. Fall of the Berlin Wall in 1989, and pressure from competing with the US, as well as a loss of control over satellite states in Eastern Europe. Why is it important in history? It's important because it marked the end of the Cold War. It was a collapse of global power, and it contributed to the rise of new nations. It also gives context and partly explains the ongoing Russian-Ukraine war. Important causes and consequences: political causes: Gorbachev's reforms weakened centralized control. Economic causes: the USSR couldn't sustain its vast economy or control its military spending. Social causes: nationalist movements and public demand for freedom. The public was heavily oppressed, so people were angry. And external pressure, Western influence and competition from the West, primarily the US. It led to consequences such as the independence of 15 nations, and the US became a sole superpower. As well as citizens faced economic struggle, but they got freedom, at least political freedom. Did it lead to important changes? Yes, it led to wars in former Yugoslavia, Chechnya, and increased tensions between Russia and NATO. Some questions that get the old brain thinking, would the Cold War have continued into the 2000s if the USSR hadn't collapsed? And was its collapse more helpful or harmful? How does this connect to current global issues or ongoing challenges? How does it relate to today's world? The fall of the USSR has shaped geopolitics and has contributed to modern conflicts like the war in Ukraine. Are there current conflicts, debates, or problems connected to it? Yes, Russia's effort to regain control over former Soviet states, NATO expansion, and issues of nationalism and authoritarianism in Eastern Europe are all connected to the USSR's collapse. What lessons can we learn from it? We can learn the importance of stability and balance, the danger of rapid economic transition, and how unresolved historical tensions can reemerge decades later. Now, why should people care? Because it explains a lot of current global issues, especially in Eastern Europe. It also shows how the collapse of a global superpower can affect the entire world. These are my sources. Let's not forget about the most important source, the primary source. This is President Mikhail Gorbachev's resignation speech. The last president of the USSR announces its end. Little quote from that speech. He says, "Старая система рухнула прежде чем успела заработать новая." The old system collapsed before the new one had time to begin working. This is on December 25th, 1991, Christmas, exactly one day before the USSR disbanded. And like this presentation, the USSR comes to an end.